Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Battles of American Civil War with Bang and Dang, and we are moving on. We're moving on to June. Beginning of June, we got another 4 battles for you. It's kind of like last episode where the battles are not really battles because
what you do?
this first battle is literally 1 paragraph's worth.
Amen. Amen. When they say it's a 1,000-piece puzzle, there's 1,000 pieces.
Right. Yeah, I mean, no, nothing. A couple of them. Got the Battle of Tranter's Peak. Battles of first Memphis, first Chattanooga, and Cross Keys. Memphis and Cross Keys are going to be the longest battles on today's show, but yeah, you got to do them. We said we'd do everyone, and that's what we going to do. Battle of Tranter's Creek, June 5th, 1862 in Pitt County, North Carolina, as part of Ambrose E. Burnside's North Carolina expedition. June 5th, Colonel Robert Potter, garrison commander of Washington, North Carolina, ordered a reconnaissance in the direction of Pactolus. The 24th Massachusetts under Lieutenant Colonel F.A. Osborne advanced to the bridge over Tranter's Creek, where it encountered the 44th North Carolina under rebel Colonel George Singletary. Unable to force a crossing, Osborne fired his artillery, which was companies A through G of the 1st New York Marine Artillery, at the mill buildings in which the Confederates were barricaded. George Singletary was killed in the bombardment, and his troops retreated. The Federals did not pursue and returned their fortifications at Washington. And that's the Battle of Tranter's Creek.
Oh, they got a coin that was moited.
Yep, Colonel gone, just bombarded by artillery,
right,
and killed them. And they said, "Well, job's done here. Let's move out, folks."
Basically,
okay. Not bad,
decent. I'm sure it played some kind of role.
Yeah.
Moving on to the first Battle of the Memphis. It was a Navy battle fought on the Mississippi, immediately north of the city of Memphis, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
On the 6th of June in 1862.
Memphis is the only thing standing in the way of rich man.
The engagement,
no, it's just kidding.
A lot. The engagement was witnessed by many of the citizens of Memphis. So there should be a lot of like diaries and stuff.
Right.
They're out there, man, making waves. It resulted in a crushing.
Right. It's just north of the city, so all those, they were probably just chilling, dude, watching all the, probably Smokey, though.
Right. Well, it resulted in a crushing defeat for the Confederate forces.
Oh, Confederates were doing so good. That's 2 in a row now. They're about to lose.
Marked the virtual eradication of the Confederate naval presence on the Mississippi River.
No more. Yeah, well, they've all but deleted them already anyways.
Yeah, that's where the Confederates screwed everything up for themselves. Yeah. Once they let go of the Mississippi, it was over.
Well, they didn't let go of it.
Well, they basically did.
Pride from their cold, dead fingers.
Not really. They barely put up a fight.
Well, they didn't have anything.
Right. The defending Confederates closely matched the advancing Federal forces in raw numbers, with 8 rebel vessels opposing the 9 Union gunboats and rams. But the fighting qualities of the former were far inferior.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knew the North had such better weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Each was armed with only 1 or 2 guns of a light caliber that would be ineffective against an armor of the gunboats.
Right.
These Confederates were like, well, let's try it anyway. Let's just waste ammo. The primary weapon of each was its reinforced prow, which was intended to be used in ramming opponents.
Ramming does no good when you're getting fired on.
Especially nowadays when you got these ironclads.
Right.
Well, there weren't none there. So
the Confederate rams were distinguished by a unique feature of their defense against enemy shot, but their engines and other interior spaces were protected, and their engines were protected by double bulkhead of heavy timbers covered on the outer surface by a layer of railroad iron.
Okay.
The gap between the bulkheads, which is a space of 22 inches, was packed with cotton. Okay. Although the cotton was the least important part of the army, it caught the public's attention. That's where you get the name cottonclads from. Later in the war, the ship's crew were often protected from small arms fire by bales of cotton placed in exposed positions. Right. And these vessels were also referred to as cottonclads.
Okay.
All right. They differed, however, from the originals of the category.
All right.
Yeah, because they put the bales of hay on some of them to soften the blows of the shots.
Right.
These guys are packing them in between the...
packing them.
Which is whatever.
Right.
What the hell, packing them? What would packing the cotton in between the bulkheads do, anyways?
Thicken it. Stop that bullet.
I guess. But...
All right. Well, the Federal force consisted of 5 gunboats, 4 of which were known semi-officially as Eads gunboats.
Mm-hmm.
after their builder, James Buchanan Eads, but more commonly as Pook Turtles.
Pook Turtles.
After the designer Samuel and Pook. And their strange appearance.
What was their strange appearance?
Well, the 5th gunboat, flagship Benton, was also a product of Eads shipyards, but was converted from a civilian craft. Okay. Each of these vessels carried from 13 to 16 guns.
Wow.
The other 4.
The Confederates only had 1 to 2 on theirs, dude.
Stupid.
Wow.
The other 4 vessels were naval rams from the United States Ram Fleet. They had no armament whatsoever, aside from the small arms carried by the officers.
Huh.
Wow. All of the rams had been converted from civilian riverboats and had no common design.
Man, dude, they're just taking whatever they could.
Right.
Both sides entered the battle with faulty command structures, as usual. The Federal gunboats were members of the Mississippi River Squadron, commanded directly by Flag Officer Charles H. Davis, who reported to Major General Henry W. Halleck.
Yep.
The gunboats were thus a part of the United States Army, although their officers were supplied by the Navy.
Right.
The Rams were led by Colonel Charles Ellet Jr., who directly reported to Secretary of War Edwin M. Stanton.
Oh, wow.
Thus, the federal fleet consisted of 2 independent organizations with no common command outside of Washington.
Oh, wow.
The Confederate arrangement was even worse.
Oh,
The
geez.
Cottonclads were about a half a group of 14 river steamers that had been seized at New Orleans and converted into rams to defend that city.
Oh, geez. Wow. Known as the River Defense Fleet, it was split in 2 when the Confederate holdings on the river became threatened from both the North and the Gulf of Mexico. 6 were retained below New Orleans to face the fleet of David G. Farragut, while 8 were sent up to Memphis to block the Union descent down the river.
Should have sent all of them.
Sending them this far north did not violate their original purpose, as Memphis was regarded as a shield for New Orleans.
Well, they already captured New Orleans.
Right.
Wait,
This might be before.
was the capture of New Orleans at the same time? Yeah, because I think the capture of New Orleans went all the way till, it was like May 30th, though. Either or, didn't work, no matter which way you look at it.
Right. The northern Memphis section, was commanded overall by James E. Montgomery for the Confederates, a riverboat captain in his civilian life. He's like, I captain riverboats.
Yes, I do.
The other boats were also commanded by former civilian riverboat captains,
I mean, who better knows rivers?
who were selected by Montgomery, and with no military training. Once underway, Montgomery's command ceased, and the Rams operated independently.
They're like, yeah, I don't think, who are you, Montgomery?
Right. The futility of this arrangement was recognized immediately by military men, but the protests were disregarded. They're like, no. Furthermore, the captains would neither learn how to handle the guns themselves nor assign crew members to the task.
Wow.
So gun crews had to be drawn from the Confederate Army. Oh, geez, come on. The gunners were not integrated into the crews, but remained subject to the orders of the Army officers.
So you got the people running the guns that didn't have to listen to the captain of the boat, and the captain of the boat didn't have to really listen to the people in the military.
No, and nobody had listened to anybody. Really.
Right. Oh, geez. As a result of the federal victory at Corinth, which we covered, the railroads that linked Memphis with the eastern part of the Confederacy had been cut, severely reducing the strategic importance of the city. Right. They're like, Memphis, whatever. Therefore, early June of 1862, Memphis and its nearby forts were abandoned by the rebel army. Most of the garrison were sent to join units elsewhere, including Vicksburg, and only a small rear guard was left to make a token resistance. The River Defense Fleet was also to have retreated to Vicksburg, but could not get enough coal in Memphis.
Nope.
Unable to flee when the federal fleet appeared on June 6th, Montgomery and his captains had to decide whether to fight or scuttle their boats. Which fight, man? Why? They chose to fight, steaming out in the early morning to meet they came out for them. They were, fuck you. They about to come meet the advancing flotilla, and the Rams trailing behind it with Memphis citizens cheering them on.
Oh, that's fine, man. They got adrenaline rush.
Hell yeah.
They're probably drinking whiskey all night. Oh, geez. The battle started with an exchange of gunfire at long range. The federal gunboats setting up a line battle across the river and firing their rear guns at the Cottonclads coming up to meet them as they entered the battle stern first.
Stern first.
2 of the 4 rams advanced beyond the line of the gunboats and rammed or otherwise disrupted the movements of their opponents. The other rams misinterpreted their orders and did not enter the battle at all. With the federal rams and gunboats not coordinating their movements and the Confederate vessels operating independently, the battle soon was reduced to a melee.
Yeah, all hell is just breaking loose, dude.
Whoever's left standing.
Right.
Hey. It is agreed by all that the ram flagship Queen of the West initiated hostilities by slamming into CSS Colonel Lavelle. She was then rammed in turn by one or more of the remaining Cottonclads. Ellet was at the time wounded by a pistol shot in his knee.
Oh, shot me in my knee.
Right. Thereby becoming the only casualty on the Union side.
They didn't die, though.
Right.
Oh,
Maybe.
well.
In the hospital, he contracted measles, the childhood disease that killed some 5,000 soldiers during the war. The combination of disease and the debilitation caused by his wound was too great, and he succumbed to his injuries on the 21st of June.
Damn, poor
1862.
Ellet.
Just cut his leg off.
So measles is what did it, probably.
Right.
Remainder of the battle is obscured by more than the fog of war. Several eyewitness accounts are available. However, they are mutually contradictory to a greater degree than usual, though.
Right.
All that is certain is that at the end of the battle, all but one of the Cottonclads were either destroyed or captured, and one Yankee boat, Queen of the West, was disabled. Sole boat to escape was the CSS General Earl Van Dorn, and they fled to the protection of the Yazoo River just north of Vicksburg.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Got their asses handed to them.
Yeah, they did.
Jeez.
Memphis ain't cheering now, are they?
Right. The battle, which took less than 2 hours in the early morning hours of 6th of June, resulted in the immediate surrender of the city of Memphis to a federal authority by noon that day. Dang, those guys were like, those people in that city are waking up like, yeah, let's cheer on our boys. And by noon,
they got the old glory hanging instead of the Confederate.
A lot of wives were beat that day.
Killed, probably.
Right. The Confederate casualties totaled approximately 100 killed or wounded and another 150 taken prisoner. The Union forces captured and repaired CSS General Price, the CSS General Bragg, the CSS Sumter, the CSS Little Rebel, and added them to the Mississippi River Squadron.
That's the equivalent of
a punch in the face.
It's the equivalent of local law enforcement seizing a drug dealer's car and
driving
turning it into a fucking squad car. Nice.
Right. The Battle of Memphis was, aside from later appearance of the ironclad CSS Arkansas, the final challenge to the federal thrust down the Mississippi River against Vicksburg.
Yeah, but they still got a while before they even take Vicksburg, though.
Right. The river was now open down to that city, which was already besieged by Farragut's ships. But the federal army authorities did not grasp the strategic importance of the fact for nearly another 6 months.
Because they're idiots, dude.
Right.
Not until November of 1862 would the Union Army under Ulysses S. Grant now attempt to complete the opening of the river.
Right. He's like, why haven't we done? Wait.
Right.
Why haven't we done this yet?
The poor performance of the river defeats defense.
Huh?
The poor performance of the river defense fleet of the Confederates, both at Memphis and the earlier Battle of New Orleans, was the final demonstration that naval operations had to be commanded by trained professionals subject to military discipline.
Well, no
shit. Meanwhile, the Ellet Rams remained in federal service, but they had no other opportunity for combat of the sort for which they were intended.
Right.
They were soon transformed into an amphibious raiding body.
Okay.
The Mississippi Marine Brigade, with no connection to the United States Marine Corps, though, led by Ellet's brother, Lieutenant Colonel, later Brigadier General Alfred W. Ellet.
Look at this guy.
The demand for increased professionalism also resulted in the elimination of privateering, although the river defense fleet was not composed of privateers in the usual meaning of the term.
Right.
Don't have private citizens manning your boats in damn wartime. How about that?
That's stupid. The battle remains a cautionary tale, demonstrating the ill effects of a poor command structure.
They're just now
not only this battle, but plenty of battles before.
90% of the battle so far.
Jeez, oh, Pete. It is also one of the only two purely naval battles of the war, excluding single ship actions, and took place 500 miles from the nearest open water.
Okay.
The other was the Battle of Plum Point Bend, also on the Mississippi. I don't know if we've done that one.
Not yet.
Another Civil War military engagement took place in Memphis, namely the Second Battle of Memphis, April 1864.
Wow.
When the Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest led a nighttime cavalry raid on Memphis with the intent of freeing Confederate prisoners and capturing Union generals encamped there. Well, you'll find out what happens in that raid.
Well, second consecutive Confederate defeat. That moves us on to the first Battle of Chattanooga. Only a minor artillery battle fought on June 7th through the 8th. Late spring of 1862, the Confederacy split its forces in Chattanooga to several small commands in an attempt to complicate federal operations.
It never does that work. No.
Union Major General Ormsby M. Mitchell received orders to take his division to Huntsville, Alabama, to repair railroads in the area. Soon he occupied more than 100 miles along the Nashville and Chattanooga and Memphis and Charleston railroads. In May, Mitchell and his men sparred with Major General Edmund Kirby Smith's men. I think we've heard of Edmund Kirby Smith before.
I believe. I would believe that. Well, after Mitchell received command of all federal troops between Nashville and Huntsville on the 29th of May, 1862, he ordered Brigadier General James Negley with a small division to lead an expedition to capture Chattanooga. This force arrived at Chattanooga on the June 7th. Negley ordered the 79th Pennsylvania Infantry out to reconnoiter.
The rim.
It found the Confederates entrenched on the opposite side of the river along the banks and atop Cameron Hill. Negley brought up 2 artillery batteries to open fire on those rebel troops and the town and sent infantry to the river bank to act as sharpshooters. The Union bombardment Chattanooga continued throughout June 7th and until noon on the 8th of June.
What was it until noon? They're like, dude, we want to get this shit over with before lunch. Right. The Confederates replied, but it was uncoordinated since the undisciplined gunners were allowed to do as they wished.
Jeez.
And I thought they just learned from having people not do the stuff by themselves.
No, that was on boats.
I guess on June 10th, Smith, who had arrived on June 8th, reported that Negley had withdrawn and the Confederate loss was minor. This attack on Chattanooga was a warning that Union troops could mount assaults when they wanted.
Right.
They got the upper hand. The attack also prompted Edmund Kirby Smith to withdraw Confederate troops from the other areas to defend Chattanooga. This redeployment of troops allowed George W. Morgan to capture the Cumberland Gap on June 18th, 1862, we'll have coming up. Right. And the American Battlefield Trust and its partners have acquired and preserved 120 acres of this battlefield as of 2021.
Okay.
So nothing happening there again, just worthless little nothings.
Right. Mm-hmm. And more terrible leadership from the old Rabs.
Yeah, well, it's common. Well, yeah.
Well, moving on. Battle of Cross Keys, 8th of June, 1862, Rockingham County, Virginia. Confederate Army Major General Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson's campaign through the Shenandoah Valley. Together, the battles of Cross Keys and Port Republic the following day were the decisive victories in Jackson's Valley campaign, forcing the Union armies to retreat, leaving Jackson free to reinforce General Robert E. Lee for the 7 Days Battle outside Richmond, Virginia.
That's coming up pretty quickly.
The hamlet of Port Republic, Virginia, lies on a neck of land between the North and South Rivers, which conjoin to form the South Fork Shenandoah River. 6th through the 7th of June, 1862, Jackson's army, numbering about 16,000, went north of the Port Republic, and Major General Richard S. Ewell's division along the banks of Mill Creek near Goods Mill. And then Brigadier General Charles S. Winder's division on the north bank of North River near the bridge.
Okay.
Dang.
So we got east.
See, Jackson knew what. He's a good guy for a minute.
Well, 15th Alabama Infantry Regiment was left to block the roads at Union Church. Jackson's headquarters were in Madison Hall at Port Republic, and the Army trains were parked nearby.
Right.
2 Union columns converged on Jackson's position.
Uh-oh.
The Army of Major General John C. Fremont, about 15,000 strong, moved into the valley moved on the Valley Pike and reached the vicinity of Harrisonburg on June 6th. The division of Brigadier General James Shields, about 10,000 men, advanced south from Front Royal, which we just covered, in the Luray Valley, but was badly strung out because of the muddy Luray. They were strung out on some Huron.
Right.
At Port Republic, Jackson possessed the last intact bridge on the North River and the fords on the South River by which Fremont and Shields could unite. Jackson determined to check Fremont's advance at Mill Creek while meeting Shields on the east bank of the South Fork of the Shenandoah River, a Confederate signal station. On the Shenandoah River. A Confederate signal station on Massanutten monitored Union progress. Early in the morning on June 8th, Fremont's men encountered the Confederate advance guard near Cross Keys Tavern. A few shots were fired, and the Union cavalry fell back into their main body, which was approaching. Darkness prevented further developments on this day.
Oh, what a waste.
Right.
Colonel Samuel S. Caro, head of the regiment of the Union Cavalry, supported by an artillery battery and a brigade of infantry, was sent ahead by Shields to secure the North River Bridge at Port Republic. Shortly after dawn on the 8th of June, Caro scattered the Confederate pickets, forded the South River, and dashed into Port Republic. Jackson and his staff raced down the main street from headquarters and across the bridge, narrowly eluding capture. 3 members of his staff were captured. Colonel Stapleton Crutchfield, Lieutenant Edward Willis, and Dr. Oh, no, not the doctor.
Oh, no, not the doc.
And Dr. Hunter McGuire. Caro deployed 1 gun aimed at the bridge and brought up another. Jackson directed the defense, ordering Captain William T. Poeg's battery unlimber on the north bank. Captain James Carrington brought up a gun from the vicinity of Madison Hall to rake the main street. Colonel Samuel V. Fulkerson led his 37th Virginia Infantry in a charge across the bridge, where the gun at the opposite end was firing on them with grape shot to drive the Union cavalry out of the town.
Trying to drive them out. Well, Carroll retreated in confusion, losing his 2 guns before his infantry could come within range. 3 Confederate batteries unlimbered on the bluffs east of Port Republic on the north bank of the South Fork and fired on the retreating Federals. Carroll retired several miles north on the Luray Road. Jackson stationed Brigadier General William B. Taliaferro's brigade in Port Republic and positioned the Stonewall Brigade near Bogota with artillery to prevent any further surprises.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Fremont, with Colonel Gustave P. Clouseret's brigade in the lead, renewed his advance from the vicinity of Harrisonburg. After driving away the Confederate skirmishers, Clouseret reached and deployed his right flank along the Kieseltown Road near Union Church. One by one, the Union brigades came into line. Brigadier General Robert C. Schenck on Clouseret's right, Brigadier General Robert H. Milroy on his left, Brigadier General Julius H. Stahel on the far left, his left flank near Congress Creek. Brigadier General Henry Bolins and Colonel John A. Coltes' brigades were held in reserve near the center of the line.
Okay.
A regiment of Union cavalry moved south on the road to secure the right flank, and batteries were brought to the front.
Ooh, batteries brought to the front. Who needs batteries? Who needs batteries? Got triple A's, double A's. Ewell deployed his infantry division behind Mill Creek. Brigadier General Isaac R. Trimble's brigade on the right across the Port Republic Road. Brigadier General Arnold Elzey's in the center along the high bluffs. Ewell concentrated his artillery, which was 4 batteries at the center of the line, as Union troops deployed along Kieseltown Road. Trimble advanced his brigade a quarter of a mile to Victory Hill and deployed Courtenay's battery on a hill to his left, supported by the 21st North Carolina. The 15th Alabama, which had been skirmishing near Union Church, rejoined the brigade. Trimble held his regiments out of sight behind the crest of the hill.
Okay. Well, meanwhile, Fremont determined to advance his battle line with the evident intention of enveloping the Confederate position assumed to be behind Mill Creek. This maneuver required an elaborate right wheel. Stahel's brigade on the far left had the farthest distance to cover and advanced first. Milroy moved forward on Stahel's right and rear. Union batteries were advanced with infantry lines south of Kieseltown Road and engaged Confederate batteries. Stahel appeared oblivious to Trimble's advanced position.
Oh, geez.
His battle line passed down into the valley, crossed the run, and began climbing Victory Hill. Suddenly, Trimble's men leaped up and fired all at once into Stahel's brigade.
Dang.
The Confederates were mostly armed with smoothbore muskets, which they loaded with buck and ball shot.
Oh.
And the effect at such close range was completely devastating.
Damn right it was.
Stahel lost 300 men in a matter of moments.
Yeah.
And the remainder of the green, untested soldiers fled in panic.
Dude, that was like a bunch of people standing up and at least probably 1,000 to 2,000 lead balls flying at you. Murder.
Instant.
In the first degree.
Yeah. Second, fuck it. Murder first, second, third, and fourth degree.
Right. The Union Brigade regrouped on the height opposite Victory Hill, but made no effort to renew their assault. They're like, damn, that was messed up.
Nope.
I'm going to have freaking nightmares about this. Different accounts of the battle place various estimates of how close Trimble was to Stahel when his men opened fire. It was pretty close. But 40 yards seems to be a probable distance. I think even closer than 40 yards.
Still kind of far.
Actually, 40 yards is that would be even more because once you shoot, it's expanding as it goes. Oh, my. Dude. Dang.
1,300 muskets fired.
Yeah.
That means at least 7,000 to 8,000
more than
balls coming all over the fucking
all
place.
kinds of shit. The entire battle lasted no more than a minute.
Not the battle.
Right. It was just a freaking episode.
Just that little shooting right there.
Right. Less than a minute. Oh, no more than a minute at least. As the amount of smoke from 1,300 muskets firing quickly made it impossible to see anything. Most of the Confederates got off no more than one shot before Stahel's brigade broke and ran. I think you would have to.
There's some fast-ass loaders if they got off more than one shot.
I think you would have to move the Confederates, too, because it's going to take a while for that smoke.
Unless it was windy. Stahel did not renew his attack, but brought up a battery, which was Buell's, to support his position. Trimble moved the 15th Alabama by the right flank and up a ravine to get on the battery's left.
Right.
In the meantime, Ewell sent 2 regiments, which was the 13th and 25th Virginia, along the ridge to Trimble's right, attracting a severe fire from the Union battery.
Oh, shit.
With a shout, the 15th Alabama emerged from the ravine and began to climb the hill toward the battery.
Oh, no, that's worse.
Precipitating a melee.
Yeah.
Trimble advanced his other 2 regiments, the 16th Mississippi Infantry on the left and the 21st Georgia Infantry on the right, from their position on Victory Hill, forcing back the Union line.
Oh, shit.
Union battery limbered hastily and withdrew, saving its guns. Union regiment counterattacked briefly, striking the left flank. Just the left flank.
Just the flank.
Union regiment counterattacked briefly, striking the left flank of the 16th Mississippi, but was forced back in desperate fighting.
Union guys came up and like, whose name's Frank? Raise your hand.
We'll take the left one.
All right, boys.
They're like, which one? Your left or my left?
Your left.
Oh, damn it.
Trimble continued advancing up the ravine on the Confederate right, outflanking successive Union positions. In the meantime, Milroy advanced on Stahel's right, supported by artillery.
Wow.
Milroy's line became in rifle musket range of the Confederate center behind Mill Creek and opened fire. Union batteries continued to engage Confederate batteries in an artillery duel. Bolin advanced on the far Union left to stiffen Stahel's crumbling defense.
Stipend.
Right. Milroy's left flank was endangered by Stahel's retreat, and Fremont ordered them to withdraw. He was like, "Damn, they're going out. That means we're going to be exposed over here." Fremont was like, "Rebs are getting us." Jackson brought Taylor's brigade forward to support Ewell if needed, but Taylor remained in reserve on the Port Republic Road near the Dunker Church.
Wow. Seemingly paralyzed by the decimation of Stahel's brigade on his left, Fremont was unable to mount a coordinated attack. He ordered Schenck's brigade forward to find the Confederate left flank south of Union Church. Ewell reinforced his left with elements of Elzey's brigade. Severe firing erupted along the line, but quickly died down. Confederate Brigadier General Elzey and Brigadier General George H. Stewart, spelled with a U, were wounded in this exchange. Fremont withdrew his force to Keesletown Road, placing his artillery on the heights to his rear, which was Oak Ridge. Artillery firing continued, though.
Did. You always got to keep that artillery going. Union casualties totaled 557 killed and wounded and 100 captured, while the Confederates lost fewer than 300 men. At dusk, Trimble pushed his battle line forward to within a quarter mile of the Union position, anticipating a night assault. Confederate accounts described the Union soldiers going into camp, lighting fires, and making coffee. Schenck sent out a company to probe the Confederate positions after dark, but after a brief skirmish, the company withdrew and no other engagements took place. During the night, Ewell ordered Trimble to withdraw without making the attack. Wonder why.
You seen what happened? Civil War Trust and its partners have acquired and preserved 282 acres of the battlefield. Key purchase was the 51-acre Widow Pence farm in the heart of the battlefield. Trust joined with a local retired surgeon, Irvin Hess, and his wife to purchase the property at auction.
Okay.
The couple has since fully restored the circa 1840 farmhouse. The land is protected through a conservation easement. March of 2022, the Talbot Boys statue was relocated to the battlefield from Talbot County, Maryland. Confederate monument had stood in front of the Talbot County Courthouse since 1916. It was the last remaining Confederate monument on public grounds in Maryland when it was removed after years-long protest.
Yeah, of course it was. Freaking douchebags.
That's offensive. That's offensive.
Get the fuck out of here.
Well, I guess moving on to part 2 of that. Might as well end it with that one. Battle of the Port Republic the next day, where we're going to continue it after the next day. Obviously, Port Republic was a fierce contest between equally determined foes. Yeah, we already know. During the night of June 8th through the 9th, 1862, obviously, Charles S. Winder's Stonewall Brigade was withdrawn from his forward position near Bagada, a large house owned by Gabriel Jones, and rejoined Jackson's division at Port Republic. Confederate pioneers built a bridge of wagons across the South Fork of the Shenandoah River at Port Republic. Winder's brigade was assigned the task of spearheading the assault against Union forces east of the river. Brigadier General Isaac R. Trimble, his brigade, and elements of Colonel John M. Patton Jr.'s were left to delay Major Fremont's forces at Cross Keys, which they did, while the rest of Major General Richard S. Ewell's division marched to Port Republic to be in position to support Winder's attack.
Fantastic. Brigadier General Erastus B. Tyler's brigade joined Colonel Samuel Carroll's brigade north of the Lewiston on the Luray Road. The rest of Brigadier General James Shields' division was strung out along the muddy roads back to Luray.
Yep, still strung out.
All right. General Tyler, in command on the field, advanced at dawn on the 9th of June to the vicinity of Lewiston. He anchored the left of his line on a battery position on Lewiston coaling, extending his infantry west along Lewiston Lane to the South Fork near the sites of Lewis's Mill. The right and center were supported by artillery, 16 guns in all.
Good for them.
Look at that shit.
Well, Winder's brigade crossed the river by 5 a.m. and deployed to attack east across the bottom land. Winder sent 2 regiments, 2nd Virginia and 4th Virginia, into the woods to flank the Union line and assault the coaling.
Okay.
When the main Confederate battle line advanced, it came under heavy fire from the Union artillery and was soon pinned down.
Right.
Confederate batteries were brought forward onto the plain, but were so outgunned and forced to seek safer positions.
Damn right.
Ewell's brigades were hurried forward to cross the river. Seeing the strength of the Union artillery at the coaling, Jackson sent Richard Taylor's brigade, including the famed Louisiana Tigers,
to
the right into the woods to support the flanking column that was attempting to advance through the thick underbrush. He said, "Go in there, Louisiana Tigers."
You got it, boys. Winder's brigade renewed its assault on the Union right and the center, taking heavy casualties. General Tyler moved 2 regiments from the coaling to his right and launched a counterattack, driving Confederate forces back nearly half a mile.
Wow.
While this was occurring, the 1st Confederate regiments probed the defenses of the coaling, but were repulsed. Right. Finding fiercer than anticipated, Stonewall Jackson ordered the last of the Ewell's forces still north of the Port Republic to cross the rivers and burn the North Fork Bridge, he said. These reinforcements began to reach Winder, strengthening his line and stopping the Union counterattack.
No.
Taylor's brigade reached a position in the woods across from the Colleen and launched a fierce attack, which carried the hill, capturing 5 guns. I'll take it.
Good.
Tyler immediately responded with a counterattack using his reserves. These regiments, in hand-to-hand fighting, retook this position.
Wow.
Dang, these guys come in and strongholded that sheet. Taylor shifted a regiment to the far right to outflank the Union battle line. The Confederate attack again surged forward to capture the Colleen. 5 captured guns returned against the rest of the Union line.
No. They're like, you want to fire on us? We'll use your own weapons against you.
You better hope you loaded these wrong. With the loss of the Colleen, the Union position along Lewiston Lane became untenable. And Tyler ordered a withdrawal about 10:30 a.m. Stonewall Jackson ordered a general advance.
He said, they're withdrawing. Let's go after them, baby. William B. Taliaferro's fresh Confederate brigade arrived from Port Republic and pressed the retreating Federals for several miles north along the Luray Road, taking several hundred prisoners.
Okay.
Confederate army was left in possession of the field, obviously. Right. Shortly after noon, here goes noon again, Fremont's army began to deploy on the west bank of the South Fork, too late to aid Tyler's defeated command, and watched helplessly from across the rain-swollen river.
There's nothing worse than having to watch helplessly.
You just gotta watch, dude. Fremont deployed artillery on the high bluffs to harass the Confederate forces, and Jackson gradually withdrew along a narrow road through the woods and concentrated his army in the vicinity of Mount Vernon Furnace.
Furnace?
I guess.
Dang.
Jackson expected Fremont to cross the river and attack him on the following day, but during the night, Fremont withdrew towards Harrisonburg. He said,
I'm out.
He said, no.
Here's like Lincoln, you're right about the Stonewall Jackson guy. He's a peach.
We need to kill this. He should be public enemy number 1 on the Union's list, dude. We need to take out this guy as soon as fucking possible.
After the dual defeats at the Cross Keys and Port Republic, the Union armies retreated, leaving Stonewall Jackson in control of the upper and middle Shenandoah Valley, which was his plan.
Right.
And freeing his army to reinforce Robert E. Lee before Richmond in the 7 Days Battles. If that didn't happen, Robert E. would have been screwed.
Yep. The Civil War Trust and its partners have acquired and preserved 947 acres of the Port Republic battlefield in 7 transactions since 1988. Battlefield is located about 3 miles east of Port Republic at U.S. Route 340 or Bank Road.
Okay.
It retains its wartime agrarian appearance. So just like it was there, man.
Fields.
The Port Republic Battle Monument is on Ore Bank Road beside the site of the Colleen, a key battlefield feature.
Okay.
The Colleen was the first land acquisition of the modern Civil War battlefield preservation movement. Oh, wow. The 8.5-acre site was donated to the Trust Forerunner, the Association for Preservation of Civil War Sites.
Fantastic.
By the Lee Jackson Foundation in 1988.
Oh, look at that shit.
Mm-hmm. And just like that, we said in the first 2 battles that the Union were getting the upper hand again, and then old Stonewall comes back in. The Stonewall guy's a problem, man.
Yeah,
he's just routing everybody. Doesn't even matter.
Crazy.
And that's gonna do it for us. 5 battles for you guys today.
Look at that shit.
Actually, a little more entertaining than I thought they were gonna be. To be honest with you, Front Royal, Tranter's Creek, Memphis, Chattanooga, Battle of Cross Keys, and Port Republic. Some good ones here. We're getting to a point coming up where it's usually really Confederates and Union going back and forth, trading wins and trading lives too at this point. But like we've already, this episode pointed out that Jackson's a problem, and he will be continued a problem until he's going to play a major role in Second Bull Run.
Friendly fire.
That's not until next year though.
Friendly fire sucks.
Yeah, well.
Should be like in video games where you can't. It bounces off them or something.
Or just stops you from shooting altogether.
Right. You can't do it. You can't do it.
Yeah, next episode we'll probably have another 4 probably. Secession Bill, Battle of St. Charles, Battle of Simmons Bluff, Battle of Oak Grove, Battle of Beaver Dam Creek, probably. South Carolina, Arkansas, and Virginia all represented in this, though. And as usual, no wins for the Union. Oh, no, I lied. Is that the first Union win in Virginia?
Yep.
Wow. Dude, Virginia is popping the next few weeks.
Oh, yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Tampa.
Battle of Tampa.
Tampa. Florida gets some action. That might be our first Florida action.
It's not a Civil War. It's not a war thing. It's Citizens versus Hurricane.
That's going to do it for us in the Battle of the American Civil War this episode. But if you guys are true crime fans, go check out our other show, Outlaws and Gunslingers, where this week's episode's all about the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge occupation. You guys might remember that one as the Lavoy Finicum guy. The overhead views of him stepping out of the snowy bank.
Yeah, and getting moited by the FBI.
Supposedly,
by the
Oregon State Police.
State
Supposedly reaching into his jacket for a firearm and getting gunned down in the back.
Right. This one was more of a. I was expecting more FBI, CIA.
Well, the FBI
shenanigans.
They did. Just remember they had all those informants in there that
There was.
were carrying weapons and God knows what they were telling the other guys. So
Right, but still, Finicum shouldn't have been there. Half these guys shouldn't have been there because they didn't even live in
none
the
of them.
freaking state.
Not one of the occupiers were from Oregon.
Right. So, yeah, that's kind of garbage.
Yeah, but we got that episodes. We've also got 30, probably 30 episodes at least on the Wild West, Prohibition, probably 20-something of those. And then we've done Unabomber, Oklahoma City bombing. We just did Columbine school shooting. And we've done many more. And we'll continue to do many more. Outlaws and Gunslingers, wherever you get your podcasts. And This Week in Sports History right here on the Bang Dang Network. Look that up. If you're here, you're here. All right, so you already know where to go. And we'll be back next week for 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8. You never know. It could be 9 battles next week. But nonetheless, we're here to do them, and we shall do them.
Yes.
It's the battles of I was going to say, this is the battles of Mouthy Michiganders.
Yes.
This is the battles of American Civil War with
Bang,
the Mouthy
bang.
Michiganders.